What was yours?
Hiya.
Hi, darling.
Oh, mine was the same as Nicola's, really. Watching Wes was sometimes like watching myself. It did ring true. So, but I've come away and I've been more active the last few days. Even if I've only got a spare 20 minutes, I've actually been making the most of it and actually making the calls rather than thinking about making the calls. So I've gone from at the weekend having just one appointment in the diary to having 6 this week.
Wow.
So yeah, it just goes to show how much procrastinating I was doing.
Yeah, definitely. And the impact after events is always huge, isn't it? So
Yes, yeah.
that is brilliant. Deb Phillips, your big takeaway?
Well, my big takeaway, I hate to sound boring, but it was Big Al all the way. I mean, I can't tell you guys all how many times I've seen Big Al. I have seen him so many times, and every time I see him, he puts a smile on my face, and he makes me think, wow, it is actually so simple. So I bought 2 of his books, which were Pre-Closing. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Closing. And it's got some great one-liners on it, in it, the sort that he used. So what I'll do is I'll try and highlight some and get them. Joe, you've got a broadcast, haven't you, of all of ours? So I'll see what's in there and try and highlight some and take some photographs, and you can give them, send them out to everybody.
Oh, thanks, Deb. Brilliant. I downloaded those books on my Kindle today because I saw you buy them. I didn't have any cash, so yeah, they look really, really good. Coming to Donna Gowan.
Hiya.
Hi, Han.
You're right. Definitely for me, it's Big Al.
Yeah.
But overall, I just enjoyed the whole day, and everybody's tips was a bonus for me. But yeah, definitely Big Al. It's so simple and easy to remember. Someone like me, I'm no good at retaining information for too long. It's just impossible. My brain don't take it all in. But for what he's given me, the advice, that's brilliant.
Oh, that's fantastic. Elaine.
Oh, hi.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Donna. What was that last bit?
And I've got 5 appointments in my diary.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Brilliant. Elaine, what did you find?
Big Al all the way. He's just, I could listen, I'm with everyone else. You could listen to him all day. I'm Stephen mad, I think, because that's all I've been saying. You've got to listen to this guy. He's amazing. He did make it sound so simple and so easy. It's like, I've actually been training Stephen today to what to say to some of his customers, like when he goes out, and I said, well, just say this, just say, do you pay electricity? Do you want to make it lower? It's like so simple. So simple. So yeah.
He does, doesn't he? Makes it sound so simple.
He does, and he's such a lovable character, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen him. I know Deborah's seen him a few times, but that's the first time I've actually seen him. And yeah, I could listen to him all day.
Yeah.
It's good. No, I had an amazing time. It was a really good weekend. Exhausted on Sunday, but I was like, Lindsay, I wanted to go and see you guys on Sunday. I was actually upset that we got to not see you, but I'm glad you had a good time anyway. I had an amazing time.
Yeah. Imagine how Wes feels after 2 days of doing that. It must be shattered.
Yeah, 2 days of big sort of, but yeah, yesterday I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, totally.
So much to go in, but no, it was good. Good.
Brilliant. Julia, what was your big takeaway from the kick-off? I know you were there Saturday, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there Saturday, yeah. I think, everyone said it really. Big Al. Lots of one-liners. And just little, I'm in a hotel at the moment. So there might be a lot of background noise.
Oh, okay.
Lots of little things. Ed Bolton's, what he says to people when going into a new area, his company is recruiting and anyone looking for part-time income. There were lots of little throwaway lines that people said. So I need to go back over my notes and really consolidate everything that was said.
Thank you, Julia. Janet, let me just unmute you, lovely. Hello.
I've disappeared. Hang on. Oh, there I am. Hiya.
Top tips kick off.
Sorry, I'm a bit late. So I guess everybody said Big Owl, and just to use some really simple questions and just to blooming well use them instead of knowing them. Put them into practice, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
I think it was quite encouraging to see that everybody else makes the same mistakes.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Especially Wes at the end, yeah. Who has not spoken yet that was there that would like to give us a top tip? Anybody? Oh, Deb Glover. Deb and Hans.
God, my husband seeing his first one answer.
Hello. Yeah, so it was my first event for UW, first big event. And I was just with whoever's organised the, I guess, the pressure of it all. The speakers were all unbelievable. And the amount of people that are speaking for the first time, I think, apart from our Emma, obviously, hoping to host it, I was so impressed with Anna G and Alex Roberts. Thought you guys were absolutely brilliant. In terms of takeaway stuff, I have to agree with Big Al. I think lots of people have said that. For me, it was the whole comfortable thing. Anything else? And I've used that loads already the last couple of days, like loads. And it just gets you in front of people. It de-risks it for everybody. It just makes it, not stressful for me or less stressful. And it just doesn't put any pressure on anything in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, just takes it back to something being simple, doesn't it? Thank you, Hans. Anybody else that would like to add anything that we haven't heard from yet? No? Okay. So we're going to go straight into Alex because I'm conscious of the time. So Alex, as you already know, I'm sure, is senior team leader. She's done incredibly well in this business. In about 2 years, she's always in the top achievers, and we will look upon her in awe because of her recruiting skills. So we wanted to get her on and pick her brains. Alex and I had a chat a little while ago, and I was asking her, out of the 4 main methods of customer gathering and recruiting, i.e. WAMs, business networking, referrals and neighbour letters, what is it that she used? And apart from WAMs for customer gathering and getting her quip in, she doesn't really use any of them, which was really interesting. So Alex, over to you. What is it that you're doing?
Okay, well, I'm conscious of the fact that quite a number of people on the call were there on Saturday, so I don't want to go over too much of what I said, but considering I did learn it word for word, it's highly likely that some of the sentences might come out in the same form.
Yes.
Essentially, I mean, it was almost by accident, really, that I kind of started doing what I was doing because, like everybody else, when I joined the business, I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew that we had something, we were holding on to something that was quite incredible, and I wanted to tell people about it. And I probably told people too much in the beginning, so I kind of learnt from my mistakes. But I just started chatting to people and having conversations with them and really trying to understand what they needed in their life before giving them what I thought Utility Warehouse could offer them. And I think, I mean, I have a marketing background anyway, so, a degree in public relations and things like that. So I'm very conscious of the fact that if I was just to give somebody a message about Utility Warehouse, if it's not the right part of Utility Warehouse for them, it's not going to mean anything to them. So I'm almost doing myself a disservice if I tell them something that's completely irrelevant to them. So, and I think, like I said on Saturday, I was sort of doing this, having conversations with people without really it having a structure. And then when I went on the team building training, I learned about FORM, which, if anybody isn't aware of what it stands for, it's friends and family, occupation, recreation, and then message. And the first 3 is really just kind of a way of, without being too contrived, because ideally you don't really want to just be asking questions about those 3 things in order, but just it helps you to kind of think of a new question to ask somebody in a new social situation. So, so you've actually, through those 3 sort of conversational areas, you get to understand what it is that makes that person tick and how Utility Warehouse can help them. If you think about everything that Utility Warehouse can offer, it's so vast in terms of why someone would join. Everybody's got a completely different why, and that fits different parts of the business and our offering. So for me, really, it is about finding that trigger, whatever that thing might be, that I can then match to a message, but then waiting for the right time to tell them. Because I think that's really key. And that was one of the points I tried to make on Saturday, is that you might meet somebody for the first time, or it might be somebody that's been in your life for a while, but it's the first time you've had a proper conversation with them since being in Utility Warehouse and having something to say. And it's not necessarily that isn't necessarily the right time to deliver the Utility Warehouse message. It might be that you need to take several weeks or maybe even months to get to the point where it's the right time to tell that person. We all know that timing is so key in this business anyway. I think I've heard it said so many times, hands up who joined the business, the first time that they ever heard about it, and very few people put their hands up. And, hands up, it was the second or third or fourth time or whatever, and you get everybody putting their hands up, because it's not, it's not that often that we meet somebody who just gets it immediately. So through building that relationship over time, you get to a point where not only do they tell you that they need Utility Warehouse, even though they don't actually know what that is, they tell you something that makes you realise this would be perfect for you, and it's because of that thing. And if they're not ready to receive that message, there's no point in telling them ahead of time, if that makes sense.
So for you, it's basically, it's not being impatient. And you said something really good to me earlier, that you're kind of, people start off with their warm list, but in your mindset, you were thinking, right, I'm going to run out of that warm list at some point. So in a way, with this contacting people they haven't spoken to for ages, or building new relationships wherever you might meet people, you're kind of building a warm list, aren't you? A second
Definitely. I mean, for example, I don't know how many people, I'm sure loads of people on the call know my very good friend Danielle Bennett. She was up on stage at the weekend because she's got TL this year. She's a fantastic recruit. She's actually she's got more customers than anyone else in my team. So I'm very, very grateful that I recruited her. Now, I actually did her, because my other sort of sideline business is bridal hair and makeup, and I did her wedding hair 10 years ago. And other than that, we had never, ever spoken. We obviously connected on Facebook around the time, probably to share some pictures. But other than that, there's been 10 years between us having communication. She put something on Facebook really randomly about her son and about having to go to work on Monday or something. And for me, I thought, oh, it's a shame I'm not already talking to her, because that would have been a really good point to mention Utility Warehouse. But it was the first thing that I'd seen, and it would have been the first time I'd contacted her in 10 years. And I just, it's way too random, way too out of the blue. She's just going to look at me and think, what the hell are you doing messaging me about some business when we've not spoken for 10 years? So I saw that, because I knew that there was a chance that there was a need there. I saw it and I thought, saying it out loud, it sounds awful, doesn't it? But I just basically reconnected with her as a friend, in the back of my mind, thinking at some point I'm going to tell her about this. But you know what? It's not that bad, because worst case scenario, she doesn't join my team, but maybe I reconnect with an old friend, and that is a good thing for me and for her. So it's not the end of the world. But what's actually come out of it is, I spent probably about 6 months chatting to her on Facebook. I mentioned something about her son. We've both got sons with the same name, so that was a really easy connection. We've been through similar sorts of things. We're very, as it turns out, we get on very well, and we're very girly, and we've got lots of stuff in common. But that came out of that 6 months of conversation, and that was only online. We never picked up the phone to each other until I actually had a proper telephone conversation with her about the business. And I can't remember the exact trigger in the end, what it was that made me suddenly decide that now's the right time. But in my earlier days in the business, I probably would have told her straight away after she posted that first message. But the fact that I left it, I didn't pester her about it. I mentioned it on one occasion about 6 months later. She she knew more about me at that time. She could appreciate that if I had something to say, it was worth listening to, because we had that kind of a relationship and there was a bit of trust there. So I'm glad I did that one the right way, because it's turned out to be pretty lucrative for me.
Yeah, totally.
And it's good as well because she's recruiting in the same way. So that's the interesting thing, because obviously we always talk about being duplicatable in this business. And I quite often think that the way you recruit somebody, that often becomes their most likely method of recruiting as well. So although, you know, the stats look pretty good, I've 18 months in the business, I've got 92 people in my team, but that's not just me. That's because my culture is recruiting and doing it in a certain way, and other people are picking up on that because they've been recruited like that. So it's a very, very conversational, not, you know, it looks like it's quick, but when you think that, you know, there's a certain number of people I've recruited, they've all just gone off and recruited 2 or 3 people in that time. But because there's quite a number to start with, obviously it compounds.
So it is all about, in the beginning, isn't it, having that patience. And it's so easy, isn't it, when you join the business and you see everyone else flying off and doing this, that and the other, to rush the conversations. And
I think most of us are in this. Yeah, most of us are in this for the long game. And if we're not, then, you know, maybe that's great. You're going to earn a bit of quip in the meantime, and then, you know, not necessarily have a long-term business. But for those people that have joined it because they want, you know, good pension provision, you know, be able to do things later on in life that they couldn't have dreamt of, if that's the reason that you're in this business, then you don't need to look for the quick wins. You know, that, like I said to you earlier, go out and do some whams if you want quip now. You know, that's basically what I do. I mean, you know, I'm really lucky if I go to a wham and I get an appointment with somebody who joins the business. It happens very, very rarely. That said, obviously, whoever it is, I'll always show them. But the chances are, you know, particularly where I do whams, you know, most people are retired. And, you know, I'm not saying that retired people don't join, because they do, but statistically speaking, obviously, it's a lower percentage of people that do. So I just go and do whams, just literally to get me a little bit of money each month. Because there are times when I'm recruiting people who don't necessarily live in their own homes. They're perhaps not ready to actually join as a customer immediately. So I might not necessarily be getting quip on those. Obviously, ideally you do it the right way around so that you do. But yeah, the quick wins really I get from whams, just to kind of keep me being in a position where I don't have to work. But the recruitment for me is the thing that's going to give me the final kind of, you know, what I'm really looking for from this business, which is the long-term gain. And that's why I think it's important to, if you are playing the long game, then bide your time, because I think you'd be more successful in the end. And you don't alienate people as well. You know, I try and be, you know, I think the best ones are when you can actually recruit somebody in a way that they actually ask you about it. The first conversation you have is them actually asking you what you're doing and how is it that you don't have to go to work? You know, how are you managing to have all this fun with your son every day of the week? You know, when I go to Disney, you know, I'm going to be plastering that all over Facebook. And I'm hoping a lot of people will ask me, you know, how did you manage to do that? And it's an easy answer, you know, but those are people that I've reconnected with over the last 18 months. And are starting to pick up on things. Vic, actually, who's a very, very new member of my team, she was exactly the same thing. Well, actually, funny enough, I did her wedding here as well, probably about 6 years ago. I didn't even say anything to her. I hadn't even reconnected with her. And she just messaged me out of the blue and said, what is this thing that you do? Because you seem to eat an awful lot of pizza. And you know, and that's she'd just seen my face, you know, various Facebook posts. So I know that's not quite the same as what I was saying before, but just in general, just, you know, having that brand, whether it's what people see online or whether it's what people see when you're talking to them, if you're always happy, positive, and just kind of, you know, shining a bit of a light, people are going to want to know what it is that you've got that they haven't. So if you do reconnect with people or you meet new people and you can kind of build that relationship with them, they will start to see that. And if you can get them to ask you what it's all about, well, you're onto a winner then, because you can always be a bit blasé about it. Oh, I'll fill you in next time we chat, or you know, message me and we'll sort of coffee out or something, and I'll fill you in. Make them want it.
And when you get in front of them, Alex, are you doing anything different that's You know, when you're showing them, or you're just showing them the videos like we always would, and how the money works.
I am really. You know, the majority of my rapport building has probably been done before the meeting, but always that first kind of 10 minutes in someone's house is really important, I think, because you can do very much the same thing again there. Just pick up on little triggers and focus on them. It's very similar to when we used to do the old presentation. We always used to be told to say after the video, which bit did you like best? And that was really so that we could make sure that, you know, if the savings weren't amazing, you knew what to focus on. You know, and it's very similar to that, really. You want to know what's going to motivate that person to sign on the dotted line that day. And if you can pick that up in the first 10 minutes of the conversation, then you know what to focus on, really.
And have you had any particular challenges over the last 2 years? Obviously, apart from changing the way that you do things in the beginning, but is there anything big that you've overcome?
Well, I mean, I never thought I'd talk on stage, that's for sure. I said I never would. And then Jogger asked me like a week before when I had no chance of saying no. I think probably it's the same. It's the same as everybody. It's the no's, it's the rejection. You know, just because somebody's, you know, recruited a decent number of people. I mean, I'm nowhere near the Mini, probably because I lose a lot of customers to partners. But, you know, I'm not the best customer gatherer by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, and I think when people do say no to you, because we believe in this so much, what upsets me is when I feel I've failed myself because I can't get that across to somebody. But sometimes people just don't want to listen. They don't want to hear it. You know, they're far happier just saying, woe is me, life's rubbish, you know. And they're not really the people that we want in our team anyway, because they're just going to drain us of all our mentoring. And, you know, we're going to spend so many times trying to get them on calls and get them to events that we'd actually be better off spending that energy on people that really want this to work. So I think just letting it go, you know, there's enough people that do want to speak to us and enough people that we can help change their own lives to not worry about the ones that don't get it. And 9 times out of 10, they come back to you in the end anyway. Or at least that's what I'm expecting.
And have you got a top tip to end on?
I think it is just conversations. So funnily enough, Ed Bolton, when I went TL, gave me a ring. I didn't really know who he was at the time. And he rang me and he said, tell 5 people a day that you can change their life. And for me, that's too quick. But if I can tell 5 people, if I can connect with 5 people a day on any level, it doesn't matter what, and whether that's continuing a conversation with somebody that wouldn't necessarily be in my life if it wasn't for what I was trying to do, or starting a brand new conversation with somebody. I mean, even things like when you're on Facebook, you know, we've got like a resident society in our area, which again is mostly full of negative stuff about parking, but sometimes people will put something on there saying, oh, I've just moved to the area. Does anyone know of any toddlers groups? You know, so for me, that's not, yes, I do. Come and talk to me because I can tell you loads about Utility Warehouse. It's, yeah, I do. I go to a few of them. Anytime you want to meet, we can, you know, I can take you to some and introduce you to some of the mums. So, you know, just connecting with people like that in any walk of life, whether it's Facebook, offline, face-to-face, telephone or anything, just make a connection with 5 people a day. And I think you'll notice a big difference in people asking you about what you're doing, and also you being able to deliver the message at the right time to the right people.
Alex, that has been so amazingly helpful. So now we need to add social networking to our lead generation to make it 5 ways, because obviously the more people like you anyway, the more they want to be working with you and spend time with you and can see what a positive person you are. But that really, really has helped. That is fantastic. I'm sure it's helped everybody on the call.
It has.
Thank you so much for your time, my lovely. Just to wrap up with everybody else, I was just going to go through a few diary dates. Obviously, if you haven't booked Express Day and you're new, you must book it ASAP, because a lot of the tickets have already been sold out. For anyone in my team, or Deborah Phillips, Deborah Glover's or Rebecca Russo's, we've got lots of hotel rooms booked at the Premier Inn, so you don't even need to worry about that. It's just getting your ticket secured as soon as you can, and then we'll pop you onto the team meal and get you a room sorted out. We've got Pizza Tuesday coming on the 23rd of January. If you've booked a ticket and you can't go, I'm talking about the one in Chelmsford in particular. I know that there's been a wait list since virtually the first 48 hours. If you can't go, please send your tickets back to Deborah Phillips, who's our host, so that we can redistribute them throughout the team. And if anyone's got guests that they want to bring, Deb can sort that out. So just give her plenty of notice. Don't tell her an hour before, because she can't do anything with them then. We've got our next Getting Started and op on the 13th of February at Greenwood Spa. So tell people in plenty of time for the op. Don't do a Wes and tell them the night before. Try and give them plenty of notice to come and bring their own guests as well. And if you've got people wanting to go into Getting Started and you've got new team members, or you're thinking about talking to people already about inviting them to join the business, there is a Saturday one at Dartford. Obviously, there's no op at the Dartford one because it's during a Saturday. But that's another great one. If you're talking to people now who are working full time, that's a brilliant one to do. Last 2 dates for you are Lindsay Cameron Watson's Business Builder calls, which are really gaining momentum. I personally love them. It's an hour where we log on to Lindsay's call, give Lindsay what we expect to make in that call, whether you're calling people back on WAMs or your warm list or however you've met them. We go away for an hour, then we come back to Lindsay and give her our results. She's got 2 for us, this Wednesday coming at 6:30, and also this coming Saturday the 20th at 10:30. If you would like to be on Lindsay's Zoom calls and you're not currently seeing those notifications, please let me know, and I'll get Lindsay to email you her Zoom ID for those. And one last thing, we've got the range booked. I booked the range for this coming week. It's literally on as we speak, Monday to Sunday. And also I've got a week in February at Pitsea. So this week's at Thurrock. All of the kind of what we call the prime slots have gone, but we've got all of those 3:30 through up until 8 o'clock, all free. So although you might not think it's a prime time, there will be people, it will be quieter, and I'm sure people will actually be wanting or have time to stop a little bit more. So don't sit there and think, oh my God, I've missed the boat. Message me, because we've got lots of slots. They're on our team Facebook page as well. So yeah, loads available, probably about 20, 25 in total of the non-prime slots, but probably a really great time to meet people. And especially if you're working and you can't get on those midday slots, you might just want to come along after work. So that's it. Thank you all so much for joining us. Alex, thank you again. You were fabulous, my darling, and it's really, really helped everybody. If you didn't pick up in full what Alex was saying about form as well, please just text me or message me, and I've got a kind of whole printout of what form actually means and how you can use it properly, like Alex suggested. So thank you all very much. Deb Phillips will be hosting the next call, and we'll send out details for that very shortly. But have a great evening, and thank you very much. Bye.